Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'd like to show you a few ideas about how weight touch makes a beautiful tone come out of your piano. And you need to understand it from a lot of perspectives, but part of it is the speed that the key goes down. The slower it goes down, the softer you can play. And there's ways of getting it in slower. And then there's the depth of touch, how far you go down with the key when you're playing a tone. If you want it light, you're not going to think of playing nearly as deep in the keys. So all these things come into it. Now, to begin with, if you can think of the body as 70 trillion body cells all moving, vibrating at once. Everything is free, it's that loose. Then if you can think of sitting on the front half of your bench and leaning forward and releasing on the way up, just up like that, because then it allows, just like in golf, it allows the load to settle over the top, and then it can be drawn down by gravity. Then you have to be able to go out with the finger and feel with the flesh of the finger. Depends on the kind of playing you're doing. If you're doing something that's on the ends of your fingers, that's different than if it's a big, thick, romantic tone that you want, like in something from Chopin. But you have to be able to think of the weight as being in the key and rolling over to the next, to link to the next note. So it's how fast that key goes down. The slower it goes down, the more quietly you can play. So and you have to feel the key resistance coming back at you. But there's an energy that comes from underneath you up and cycles back down in. And so when you want to play with a lovely tone like that, you have to have the finger firm, and that's just this closing and this opening working against each other to make it firm. But it doesn't stiffen in the wrist. The wrist is still movable like that. You have to be able to keep your arms at your side and just flick the elbow out toward the back of the piano and release. And when you can release that weight, go out. It's like a whale landing in the water after it jumps out. It can be this huge thing coming down in like that, or a plane landing on water, sinking into it like on the Hudson. Out and sinking in like that. Then you're balancing. So you want to feel that you're standing the weight of your arm on the key bed when you go slowly like that. And so it's not that you're pushing down. You're not pushing down. You can play down from the knuckles for individual fingers, but you need the weight touch. So you need to be able to feel you're standing that weight that you drop on the key bed. And then you've got to listen. You've got to have ears in every finger. Every note matters. And Bach is a good composer to practice in listening to every note, because you hear what's happening in each of the lines in the counterpoint. So if you can feel like I'm in there. I created a wave, you see. And if I want that to go down quieter, if I want more, I can just flick the finger in a little bit more, like plucking. But or if I do the Bach Prelude number 21, is if you can think of each note that you're sitting in the key after you come down, then roll over, like roll the log. So from the right to the left. It's not just this. Rushed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So you're always counting and you're tonguing it so that it stays that every note matters for the same length of time, so because they're all 30-second notes in this. But if I get on the surface of the keys, I don't have the control. I have to have the depth, so I have to balance. can think of the 100,000 or 70 billion trillion, 70 trillion body cells, all in motion like that. When I flop up, I'm much more relaxed. So I go. I can use the back of the upper arm then. So it's important to go slow enough. I have to practice that a lot slower than that, so that each note sounds equal in quality. And then the flow will happen when the speed is, you just shorten the time between each note. If you take something like Clair de Lune, you want this, well, you want the rhythm first, so it's got to think 1, 2, 3, because it's not 1, 2, it's 1, 2, 3. Debussy uses moving the accent over, syncopating it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you want a different color, 4, 5, 6, you come in at a different speed. But you're still setting the arm in that key, even if you don't set it all the way down before you roll to the next. See, sometimes you just want to play to the point of sound. There's a little bump there, the escapement point, where you feel that clunk, and that's the point at which after the key's about 2/3 of the way down or halfway down, you'll feel that little bump. And that's the point at which the jack slips up underneath the knuckle and shoves the hammer up into the wire. And so when you can just play to that point and you're still movable in the wrist and going like that, you complete the cycle even if you didn't feel that you're standing the full arm on the bottom of the key. It's just to that point, and then you pluck and away comes the sound out of the piano beautifully. So if you want a thicker tone, like say I was doing Brahms, I'm going to go. So you see, you can affect your tone and create. If I want a quieter sound, I can. Just think of a whale going down into the water like that. So I hope that gives you a few ideas on the various tones you can create when you're able to sit the weight in the key balanced there rather than hitting. Because if you hit, it's, but makes all the difference in the world. Anyway, I hope you have a good night. Bye-bye.